Hey folks, Mel the Train Tutor back in the studio and back with another Let's Make for you. Yes, we're back in the Let's Makes playlist and we're continuing with our Volcanic series. And in this one, we're stepping up from volcanic fissures to volcanic pools. And I'm going to be taking you through a few techniques to create some really awesome, low-level, simple to do volcanic pools for your volcanic setup. So with that in mind, it's cracking on time. Now, to make our lava pools, I'm going with 3mm MDF. Now, the reason for that is I want a really nice low profile. Yeah, what I don't want is a big hillock with my lava pool, yeah, like a little sort of semi-crater or something. I actually want to sort of see if I can blend it into the ground as much as I can. And for that purpose, I'm using 3mm MDF. Yeah, and as you can see, I've cut it, I've given it a little bit of a bevel, and it's time to create our rim around the edge first. We'll do our lava effects once they're done, but we need to create our rim. Now, there's lots of different ways you can do it. You could cut foam out and glue that down, sand it down. Same with foam board. In the past, I've used bits of balsa wood, shaped and smoothed them, and just layered over with filler. But for this purpose, yeah, since we've done a lot of this series with Daz, I might as well make it pack useful, and we'll do the rest. Yeah, so if you want any examples for any of the other sort of ways of doing the sort of edge effect, you can jump into the into the water playlist. I'll throw a link up to it now. But in the meantime, yeah, all we're going to do is we're going to roll sausage out. Yeah, and it's really hard to roll long sausages. Yeah, with Daz. So just roll a couple of semi-long ones. Yeah, there you go. Throw that one down. Now, Daz doesn't stick to things if you just sort of push it on like that. Oh, bit of a dry flake. Take that off. Yeah, to get it to stick down, what you need to do is wet the surface. Yeah, so put a little bit of water there, and we'll just very quickly just start pushing this down. And as I push it down, I'm pushing it down effectively from one side more than the other. Yeah, and as you can see, I'm sort of creating that rim. Yeah, and this is all I'm doing. I want it nice and low level. Yeah. Bring this one in, and then I'm just going to carry on and work my way around here. And this is all there is to this technique. Yeah, all we need to do is just get a nice rim. Yeah. And what you got it. And work it on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to crack on with this. And we'll get these all rimmed up. So all our pieces have dried and they've turned out perfect. Yeah, no warping whatsoever. Really low profile, which is what we're after. Okay, now next thing that we need to do really is we need to texture up these rims. But before we do, there's a little stage I want to do before that. I want to do sort of hot bubbling lava on this sort of stuff, yeah? And to sort of achieve that effect, I need some bubbles. Now, you can go with polystyrene balls, yeah, but I'm thinking they might be a little bit big. Yeah, let me just grab a quick blade. Let's have a look. Shall we have a look? Yeah, a little bit big those are for me. So what we're going to do is instead use green stuff. Now what I've got here is I've got some green stuff, yeah, Kneadite. It's a 2-part epoxy putty. Yeah, you mix both parts in and then it goes hard. Yeah, and just been pre-rolling it into little balls. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come along. Yeah, and I'm just going to press my ball down and make a bit of a lump. Now, these have been sitting for a little while, so they're reasonably firm. What you can do is you can leave them overnight. Yeah, let them go hard, then cut them with a blade and glue them down as 2 halves. Or you can do where I am, which is a little bit more rushy, which is just grab a couple of balls and just press them on. Now, I'm not too worried about the joint spot, because that's going to be mixed with filler. But what I want to do is just get a couple of these on so I can leave them in place and let them fix whilst we do the texturing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on with putting some balls on, mixing some putty up. And then once I've done that, yeah, I'm going to mix up some thin down PVA and then use a little just mixed aggregates and just texture up the edges. So, yeah. Let's crack on. So our green stuff blobs have dried and our little bubbles are looking great, as is the texture around the side. It's fixed nice and it's good enough for what we need to do next, which is getting messy. We're going to get very messy. Right, let me show you what we're doing. Now what I want to do is what you could do, yeah, is if you could just blend those edges in and just paint this surface and give it a sort of just a volcanic lava-y look. And you can do that pretty easily enough, but we're going to add a little bit of texture to this. We're going to do it in a bit of an unusual way. Yeah, we're going to add lava texture with this filler. Yeah, yes, I am just smoothing some filler onto this. I am just rubbing it over my balls. Yeah, making it really rub it round. Yeah, now the reason I'm rubbing it over my balls, it's dead simple. I want to make sure they blend in really well with the piece. Okay, so rub it in. Now you may say this is messy, Bosicle. Yeah, it is. I told you it would be. But what we're going to do is we're going to layer this down. Yeah, so a little bit of water on my fingers. Yeah, we're just going to start smoothing this down. I'm going to keep adding water to this until it gets a bit sloppy. Yeah, and again ends up being a nice thin coat. And I think some of the smarter of you will already know where I'm going with this. You can sort of see where, yeah, I'm pushing it up to the edges. I'm making sure that all the filler gets watered down and gets slippy. Yeah, do this side. Now you notice my bubbles are blended in really nice now. Yeah, around here. Yeah, quick rub around the edges where it's gone over a little. Yeah, we could do with adding, now I've got it watered down, I'm going to thicken it up some. So I'm going to add more filler in. Yeah, just like that. I'm going to add more water and just blend that in. More water. Yeah, until it gets self-leveling. Right, now you see it self-leveling. Now this next bit, I'm not going to be able to do just yet. Okay, what I mean by that is, yeah, I've got to let it start setting a little. But what we're going to do is, with a paintbrush, I'm going to start drawing circles around things. Yeah, now you can see where it's sort of not quite leveling yet. Yeah, I've got to let it settle a little bit more. In fact, these circles, I'm not sure, maybe a little bit too deep for circles, maybe a little bit more water. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to add some random stuff. I'm going to make it easy for this one because it's my first one now. It's been donkey's ages since I've done this. Yeah, so what I'm doing is lines. You can see where, what you call it, where it's sort of holding the lines and where it isn't. Where it isn't is where it's really thin. Now all this is going to do is add sort of a smooth texture around it. And it really is a sort of a guessing game of getting it when it's just thick enough, yeah, to sort of hold the cuts, but not too thick that you're sort of making like divots in it. It's got to soften afterwards. So this is the timing thing. So I'm going to crack on with these, yeah, and we'll bring them back once they're done. So I've finished with me swirling and it's looking brilliant. They've come out great. Okay, so if I bring it up, there you can see the texture on it. Now you can see as I've done my swirling and as it's dried and I've kept doing, it's gone a bit bitty. Okay, i.e. the plaster's dried up and I've carried on stirring it, and not too excessively, but I've got little patches of rough areas, I've got smooth areas, I've got loads of undulations, and all my bumps have been blended in. Yeah, they all sort of have little mounds. Some are a little bit scraggier than others. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, and it really is, you know, you got to play with this. So have a test piece, give it a go first before you go full bore so you understand it. Yeah, but it gives us a perfect palette for making our lava effects for our pool. So they're all ready for me. I can already see how they're going to turn out. Yeah, this one's going to be a bit more of a calmer one. This one's going to be a bit more of an angrier one. We'll definitely get some black texture on there as well. So it's looking really good. Now, to get our actual sort of our base, yeah, what we've got to do is, when you're doing lava effects and anything like that, yeah, you really want to be going off a decent solid base, yeah? And ideally with something like lava effects, you want to be going off quite a light base, so a light grey or a white. Now, painting white can be an absolute nightmare, so I'm going to cheat and I'm going to use white primer, yeah? 6-7 quid from Halfords. Do these in a blast and it'll give me a nice white, covering across the whole piece. And what that'll do is it'll hide the brown bits of the base, it'll hide the green bits of the green stuff, and it'll give me a nice white coat. After that, all I'm going to do is sort of paint the rims and dry brush those up in my standard volcanic grey sort of effect, which is starting with my with my bog standard dark grey, adding a little bit of black into it to darken it, and then just dry brushing it up to this level as standard. So I'm going to get that done now, yeah, and then we'll come back with the lava bits real shortly. And so that's our pieces prepped for the lava stage. And if I bring them up, you can see I've just basically given the outside, just basically gone in with a dark grey and then just dry brushed it up. And I've over brushed it a little bit and made it a bit messier in the sides. That's going to help with the blending for this. Now, obviously I've got the 4 pieces. They're all looking great. For doing the lava, we're going to go to my Army Painter paints. Yeah, and we're going to use the same sort of paint as we've used before with the lava fissures. So, demonic yellow, lava orange, pure red, yeah, a bit of dragon red. But in this case, yeah, we're stepping up because we're going over a dark surface, and the fissures, they were put over a dark, over a grey surface. Yeah, we need to put a red in. Yeah, and for that, I've gone with a chaotic red. So my first job is I need to just put a base coat of this chaotic red on here. Yeah, I've got some on my palette. I've got my brush. Yeah, and all I'm going to do is crack on and put it on. It's a bit rich, but we're going to be layering over it, so it's perfectly fine. Yeah, so I'm going to crack on with this. I'll bring it back when I'm done. One thing I am doing as I do this very quickly is, obviously I've got the little balls. I'm trying to avoid those, yeah, and just get the red in the areas surrounding them. Right, cracking on time. So our layer of chaotic red has dried, and if I bring it up, you can see it's very patchy. I've got it dark around the edges, and I've specifically gone in and certain places left it a bit heavier. Other places, it's a lot lighter. So I'll show you this one. Okay, but basically, much like the filler texture, I've put on sort of I haven't done a smooth base coat. Okay, I want this to be sort of raggedy and sort of dark in some places, light in some places. And that's part of the blending effect for getting this lava. Now, the next thing that we need to do is paint up the actual lava. So on here, I've got our pure red, our lava orange, and our demonic yellow. Now, the first thing we need to do is prep our balls, or specifically our little hot spots. So what we're going to do is with those, we're just going to use yellow. Yeah, and we're going to apply it nice and neat. I'm just going to come along and put yellow right all over them. Yeah, you can do this messy. It's perfectly fine. Just make sure you get a good amount of pigment on it. Yeah. Alright, so very quickly do these. With our yellow spots done, the next thing that we need to do is start bringing the red up, which means we're going to start over brushing our pure red, just over, generally around the bases, over the top. I'm not doing a base coat, I'm doing an over brush. Yeah, so to give you an idea, yeah, we're going to come along like this. You'll notice as I do it, yeah, I'm leaving some of the base coat behind, and I'm going around my little bubbles. I'm just catching them, but not going over the top. Yeah, so we're just going to work along. I'm just going to do this across the whole thing. Yeah, when you're overbrushing, you want to be looking at getting about, I'd probably say 80% coverage. So you only want a little of those sort of dark recesses sitting above. Anywhere where it's light, on these pieces, like these areas, yeah, that's where you're going to hit. Anywhere where it's dark, yeah, that's where you can sort of not go so heavy. And what that'll do is it will create our shadow. A bit heavy on that one. That's all right. Yeah, and you'll notice I'm going around with the yellows as I'm going. Got a bit on there. That's all right. We'll blend that with orange. Yeah, and a quick one, just highlight the edges, and then just very quickly just go around the edge and get a bit of sort of like glow effect on it. We can brighten that up. And there you go. That's the difference between our bog standard chaotic red with a thin coat, and then our dragon reds. Now it's a little bit shiny. This is going to dry matte down. First, I need to do the other pieces. Now that we've layered on our pure red, you can see the shadows coming out. It's looking a lot better. And we're going to take it up another stage. But before we do, we're going to do something a little bit fancy. Yeah, we've got to make these little bubbles pop. And what we're going to do for that is dead simple with a wet brush. Yeah, come along and start rubbing the top. Yeah, and what should start to happen, yeah, you have to sort of wet them and come back to them, sort of soften it up, is you should start to rub the paint off a little, just off the top. And it will take a little bit of work. Yeah, but what you'll start to get is a little white spot, which is that sort of like little hot spot that you're after. This is a good way so you don't actually have to add white to it. What I may do is just get a little bit of matte white, which I've got there, and just put a little daub on a little later, because I think, if I'm honest here, I've made a bit of a booby, and because I'm doing 4 of them, I should have cleaned off my yellow before I really sort of carried on. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a couple of little spots of white on here and blend those in to get my hot spots. For you guys, yeah, after you put the white on before it's dry, just get a clean damp brush, just take the top off and you'll find it works great. Yeah, but what I don't want to do is just keep hammering and try and scrub that off. So I'll just touch it with a bit of white instead. And in the meantime, we've got to layer it up again, yeah, and start to get more of a texture, which means we're going to be looking at putting in the orange, and then off the back of that, we're going to be putting in some yellow as well and making some hot spots. So, first thing, I want my orange on my brush. And this is very lightly, and it's not over everything. Yeah, so first, look at where the sort of lightest areas are. Yeah, and start laying it down onto them. Yeah, it's often better just to do a little, walk away, yeah, and then come back. Now, as you do this, make sure you do go around those little blobs and help, because that's going to start blending them in. Yeah, and you can use sort of a damp brush to clean any spills off those as you go. So as you can see, we're starting to get that really sort of, it's coming alive look. It's alive! At least something in the studio is alive today. Bit topical though. Right, now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just carry on doing this around these pieces, get my orange on. Yeah, very quickly clean these off a bit, just to blend them down, just so I haven't got any harsh sort of join lines. And then while we've got this, a little bit of yellow, all we're going to do is, yeah, and I'm literally just tapping it here. Tap it on the other side. And now I'm just going to very gently just go over it. And what I'm doing by going over it is I'm sort of blending these pieces in. Yeah, really subtly, just so they're not harsh blobs of yellow like that there. Yeah, come back, get a bit more yellow. Just go for the highest sort of spots again. Really pick those out, because that's where it would be sort of fiery. Picking out any ridge lines. Yeah, you can see how it's sort of soft down there, so I don't really want to do too much down here. A couple of little spots. Yeah, but wherever it's raggedy, yeah, that's a perfect spot for picking out these little yellow bits. Yeah, once again, clean my brush off. I'm just going to knock back any of these little spots. Give that a bit of a clean. And the final thing that I'll need to do with these, yeah, is just come in and just put, I think, a tiny little bit of white at the top of these. Yeah, but that is essentially the technique. It's really about, just getting those layers in, dropping them down, breaking it up, making it a bit interesting. And when you look at it, it's perfect. Now, I'm going to crack on with these, and I'll bring them back when they're done. So, with a little bit of wet blending and a touch of white, our lava pools are done. And this is a really quick and easy way of doing them. Yeah, it's so easy. It doesn't really require any major modelling skill because it's all about randomising it. And it's all about adding that first thin layer of a really dark red, 80% of that pure red, layer on about 50% of our lava orange, and then touch in and blend in our yellow. Yeah, my balls could do with a little bit more work, I reckon, but they're good enough for tabletop. And I'm going to be doing another video coming up soon on a load of specific sort of lava techniques to get different techniques. The main thing with this video is just to show you, one, that you can do really low level terrain utilising 3mm MDF and a little bit of DAS, that your lava effects, you don't need anything special, just a little bit of thin, filler, all mixed up and scragged up, and then as it dries, churn it over to get your bitty effects. And then just a simple paint scheme, and it can come out looking great. Yeah, so as always, really simple techniques. Let's move on. I got lost there for a moment, but that's the piece. Really simple techniques to put them together and get really evocative terrain. Yeah, easy to put on the tabletop and half hour to paint up. You can't complain at that, can you? Now, as I said before, we are going to be another video coming in to do more lava effects. We've got volcanoes, crystals, and a feature piece coming up at the end of this series. So you've got a few more videos coming yet, but hopefully by the end of it, we'll have absolutely nailed all this. Now, it's important to remember that the Let's Makes are simple tutorials. The idea is for me to show you the key bits of various sort of thematic terrain and then build the sort of your knowledge base up over the series until we can come at the end and show us something really fancy, which is what we're going to be doing. Now, in the meantime, if you give this a go, or if you've given any of the lava effects a go, get down into the description, hit the link for the Terrainiacs group on Facebook, come join the group and post your stuff on there, because I'd really love to see it. I'm not looking for inspiration at all. Not at all. Yeah, just post your stuff. Lots of lava stuff. Yeah, just post. Yeah, and in the meantime, guys, if you like seeing these videos, if you look forward to them appearing in your feed on a Tuesday, and you like seeing me sit here with a smile on my face, then I could do with your support. I've been ill, as you know. I'm getting back on the channel. I've got a long way to go to raise my support to where it was, and so I'm reaching out to the people who really appreciate these videos, the ones who make it to end, the good folks like you, to come jump on board on Patreon and help keep me going. Just $1 a month is all I ask. If you want to put a couple more in, that's great. But it's less than a coffee. But what it does do is keep the lights on, the cameras rolling, and me in here making beautiful stuff for you. And if you're not into the continual monthly thing, yeah, there are links down below in the description for PayPal and my Amazon wishlist. So you can send a bit of cash help, get me through the month, or you can buy something off the wishlist and help me run the studio. It all helps, guys. And in the meantime, look forward to next week. I think it's volcanoes next week, or maybe crystals. Depends which one I get finished first. But I hope you've enjoyed this lava tutorial. I can't wait to see what you build in the Terrainiacs. In the meantime, crack on, folks. All the best, yeah? Ta-da!